Avatar: The Last Airbender started as a Nickelodeon animated show from back in the day. From 2005. So, yeah. Back in my day, I grew up with this show, and it was the shit. We'd be out on the playground pretending we could earthbend and airbend. Honestly, way better times. But here, before I make this entire video about a nostalgia trip and why everyone should go and hate Netflix, let me explain a little bit about the original show and later the movie. I think it'll help with people's recurring fears and traumas of the last time we were here.
My name is Ang, and I'm the Avatar.
My goal is to highlight what the movie did to the first book, what this new adaptation is promising, it's not good, and to give a brief explanation and breakdown of the animated series. So, for me at least, I hold this series very near to my heart, and that comes from me loving so much about the universe, the conflicts, the characters, and most importantly, the future of the characters and the settings. I've read all of the comics and I've seen both shows, Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, and let me say that although Korra is not people's favorite,
there's no use fighting. Let go. Let go. Let go. Let go.
I still find the story of Korra to be amazing for what it provides in explanations and the evolutionary process from bending to survive to bending to thrive. I plan to dive deep into the different books of The Last Airbender and the comics that take place after, starting with a video on the Book of Water after this one, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell if it's something that you're interested in. But on a different note, before the video begins, I bet y'all didn't know I had a Discord server, huh? Yeah, well, the link to it's actually in the description and in the comments, so make sure to join that if you want to be a part of the community and know about upcoming videos. Basically, the story follows the Avatar crew, Aang, Katara, Sokka, and then later Toph and Zuko. They all go through their own arcs and they all grow as characters, which ultimately prepares them for the final battle with Lord Ozai, an extremely violent and oppressive king over one of only 4 nations within the world of Avatar, his being the Fire Nation. The Avatar, by name, is a reincarnation of a soul that can control not just one element, but all of them. Being able to control one is standard for some humans, but most of them just straight up can't bend. The 4 elements are fire, water, earth, and air, and all have a nation dedicated to living in the best way possible with their powers. Except for the air nomads. Now, let me just say this, there will be spoilers, but we learn that the Avatar, Aang, has been trapped in ice for the past 100 years, leading to monumental changes throughout the world. Without an Avatar around, strong powers can rise and dominate over many people, and that's exactly what happens. When Aang is woken up, it's not obvious how bad the world has become, but the entire mood changes when he tries to go back home, only to see that his people, the air nomads, have succumbed to the flames of genocide. And I mean that literally. When Ozai wasn't able to find the Avatar among them, since Aang had run off and frozen himself in ice, he literally killed every single one of the air nomads, destroying a millennium of culture, teachings, and art that came from his people. This would be the first time Aang would be controlled by something stronger than anything anyone has ever seen. His eyes turn a bright white, and he's able to use his airbending to an insane degree not seen by anyone in the past century. That's when everything starts moving. Aang realizes that his entire people's history rests on his hands. Not only that, but Ozai has been doing the same thing to the other nations, slowly leeching any kind of singularity that they might have had. So with that, Aang decides that he needs to travel to the 4 nations to learn how to use all of the elements effectively enough to defeat Ozai and bring peace back to the planet. The only problem is that he's a kid. He's literally 12. Well, 112, but you know, he's a kid, and he seriously doesn't know if he even wants to pursue this journey. He has several points where he tries to distance himself from his goal because he doesn't even know if it's really his goal. Was this responsibility cast upon him a burden, or is this his one and only chance to preserve the memories of the people and culture that he loved? Is this his one chance to free the world from the tyrannical rule of Ozai? Or was being the Avatar never a choice for him? What if he never wanted to be the chosen one? These are all things that the show dives deep into, but there's one thing that makes this entire plot work. Sozin's Comet. See, when a comet comes near the planet, the fire people's abilities are heightened to extreme degrees, same as the different phases of the moon and the tide changes for the water people. When this comet passes, Ozai plans to attempt world domination. By the way, the air nomad attack happened the last time the comet passed. So yes, it is entirely possible that if Aang doesn't do anything, the Fire Nation and his people will continue their ways of domination by violence. This gives Aang a choice. Do I give up my childhood to save the world and avenge my people, or do I have fun and enjoy my life? There will be no Sozin's Comet narrative and Netflix's Avatar The Last Airbender. What? Well, there's a problem. Hey, also, do you remember how I was talking about how everyone goes through their own character development? Well, one of the most massively changing characters throughout the show, Sokka, has had his entire plot device changed because, quote, being a sexist is offensive. Thank you, Netflix, for taking a stand in the woman's corner. It doesn't matter that Suki, a character that is smarter, stronger, and more capable than Sokka, puts him in his place almost immediately in the original show. No, it doesn't matter that she and her gang of Kyoshi warriors, some of the most badass fighters from the Earth Nation, come in to help on multiple occasions and often save Team Avatar, giving Sokka a newfound respect for women, but also a crazy crush on Suki. No, Sokka's just a sexist, so let's get rid of that. Next, let's make it so that Iroh actually didn't have a son who was killed in a war he sees as a dirt mark on everyone's history. Wait, no, I was joking, right? Nope. No more War of Ba Sing Se. I hope someone gets that. Really, it just scares me because if they're willing to change such massive story points, how much more are they willing to change? Well, luckily, we have a perfect example of what that looks like. Yes, it's finally time for me to talk about the movie. It truly shows Ong in all his glory as a little white child, because that's totally what he was. So yes, this movie is seriously not good. If y'all want me to do a full breakdown and review of it, let me know down in the comments, because trust me, I have a lot of things to say about this movie. But just for me rewatching it for the purposes of this video, I am frightened. The acting fucking sucks, dude. Like, actually, these people do not know how to act. I'm not sure if it's the writing in this movie, but I swear, I can visualize the scripts for every single character.
Tara, do not hit that spear!
And let me just say that these actors had no clue where to look when intense CGI comes up. Like, seriously, no amount of special effects can stop these actors from failing to seem like actual people in this universe. Everything feels placed and so artificial. Not to mention, the music is abysmal. It sounds like a Star Wars soundtrack or something. All I hear is heavy strings and loud brass, the opposite of what I'd expect from an Asian-centered setting. I'm not even going to get into the audio mixing, but ugh. There are entire plot lines completely skipped over for the sake of time, and ultimately that just makes these characters, if you can call them that, feel so baseless. These characters are shells of their cartoon counterparts and are honestly laughable when you watch one after the other. Now listen, when you try and break a 7.5-hour story down to just an hour and 45 minutes, there are going to be some hiccups and certain things that just can't happen. And that can be okay. But everything feels so rushed. It's like the writers didn't even try to make a cohesive story. Kind of like they grabbed the biggest plot points from the show and hobjobbed them together just to make use of the IP and loads of money going into CGI. This movie was made on a budget of $150 million back in 2009 and only made around $300 million back. Now, I know that sounds half decent on paper, but listen guys, for something to break even with the box office, you should have a return of around 2.5 times or higher whenever you're in this range. And them only just barely doubling the cost was seen as a horrible failure. Did y'all know that they were planning on making this a trilogy? Fucking imagine. Now let me talk about all the things that Netflix promises to change. We've already talked about Sokka and Sozin's Comet, but let me give you the biggest reason why Sozin's Comet won't be a major plot point, and maybe not a plot point at all. It's quoted as being a ticking clock, and wouldn't work well considering they're unsure when the actors will be back on set again, and they're unsure if being on a tight schedule would really be the best for their audience and their actors, since they don't have a clue to if or when they might get greenlit for a second season. They won't. Who is this audience though? Well, according to Albert Kim, the person heading this project, it's not actually aimed at the cartoon's fanbase at all. They're going for the quote, Game of Thrones type fanbase. Yes, let's appeal to an entirely new fan base rather than trying to catapult your show with the old fan base that are all literal adults now, so the "we're not really appealing to kids" thing doesn't work here. I honestly have no clue who this show is for, and I have a feeling it'll be barraged with hate viewership and then fall back to the wayside of Netflix's trash live-action anime adaptations. May God smite me down if I'm wrong. In conclusion, whatever you do, don't watch this, and if you are, please watch it with your friends. It'll be so much easier to stomach and make fun of that way. But on a more hopeful note, coming up in 2025 will be an animated movie headed by the original creators of the show and will hopefully pave the way for a new show based on an avatar from the Earth Nation. Really exciting stuff. If you want to read up more on that, there's actually ideas for several movies that may or may not be in the works. I'm honestly unsure about a lot of that stuff since it's so distant, but I have a feeling this movie, supposedly about the Avatar crew and their quest to build the Republic City, should be a new chapter for this amazing universe. And with that, thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications when I upload. And when those fail, you can always join the Discord server. I hope y'all have had an amazing day, evening, or night whenever you're watching this, and I'll say hello to you guys in the next video. Peace out.